Welcome at AmCham Business Breakfast. Does Slovenia have a talent for talents? At the entrance, you were asked to write down your talent. And that makes me wonder, what did today's organizers of the event, of the AmCham Business Breakfast and Talent Matters Conference, wrote down? Aisha, CEO of AmCham Slovenia, what is your special talent?
First, good morning. It's really hard to talk about yourself, and I saw when you were writing down your talents, it's not only my pain to write about me, but also others had to get conscious what really your talents are. But if I would say what I think it's my talent, I would say that connecting dots was always something that I could do fast. But now I think more than that, it's important that I know how to connect people. I'm not Nokia, of course, but I really think that connecting people, the platforms for dialogue, that only that can give us this great opportunity to have opportunities and optimism. And now when we are in this beautiful place, I also know what the talent of Slovenia is. This beautiful nature, this security, and this great energy that we have. So being in the Talent Matters position now, it matters also what we have around us.
Thank you, Aisha. And Monica Lapagna, Director of Center of for Business Excellence at the Faculty of Economics. What is your special talent?
Good morning, everybody. If Aisha would not tell before connecting people, I would probably say this. So I would say empathy.
And I have another question for you. What do you consider to be a special talent of Center of Business Excellence? It's a tough one.
Wow. We are actually living on the bridge of two different worlds, public sector and corporate sector. We are established by Faculty of Economics, and we are 100% on the market. You can probably imagine how different cultures these two worlds brings. And we have to understand both cultures. So I would say flexibility is something that I would point out. And I would like to thank you to my team that we are able to do this really good.
Thank you. And what about AmCham Slovenia? I believe a special talent of AmCham Slovenia is connecting the generations of young, active individuals within AmCham Young platform. Quite some of you are here today, and I will ask you to stand up. Young platform mentors, young professionals, AmCham Young leaders, okay. More and more. Thank you. You may sit. Within AmCham Young platform, we are developing the next generation business leaders. And if that's not a talent, and within 9 generations, we have more than 1,000 talents that are a commitment and inspiration for AmCham Slovenia. And what are we up to with talents? Well, Snowball Group, our think tank group 2.0, is developing a prototype of a country that is encouraging for talents. Stay tuned. And speaking of talent, Goodyear, our today's sponsor, has it as well. The American-owned company, based in Kranj, has successfully operated in Slovenia for 20 years. And we believe they'll continue to succeed in the future. This year, they are celebrating the 20th anniversary as a part of Goodyear Corporation. And for this special occasion, they designed a project to symbolically illustrate the history of Goodyear in Slovenia. By rediscovering 20 hiking, cycling, and running routes together with the local community. Let's see where their talent takes us.
Mi pravimo, da se začne že prej, z našim snovanjem in sodelovanjem. Pri tem največ štejeta usklajenost in povezanost celotne ekipe za višji cilj. Ekipe, ki je v stalni kondiciji in pripravljenosti na premik iz preverjenih tirnic uveljavljenih poti. Vzajemna poštenost in spoštovanje utrjujeta pot skupnih ambicij. Vsak član ekipe stremi naprej in odkriva nove priložnosti za inovativnost in razvoj. In željo po ustvarjanju le najboljšega. Plod dobrega medsebojnega sodelovanja so namreč timske zmage, ki bogatijo nas in našo družbo. Goodyear Slovenija. Zanesljivo peljemo prihodnost. Že 20 let.
You are welcome to join in discovering Goodyear's roots and win amazing prizes. Do you know where you're heading for the weekend? Well, you can take your pick at www.goodyear20poti.se. And one applause for Goodyear's talent. And well, there's no other way to introduce today's host, the leader of the debate, as asking you, Martina, what is your special talent?
Thanks, Tonya. As I am no expert in HR, I hope my talent is to ask some short open question and spark the debate, because we have a lot of interesting speakers and topics today. Lots of work to do as well. Not so much time, so let's get started. Our first speaker today is Aljosha Valentincic. Aljosha, before you go on stage, let me tell a little bit about you. Aljosha is a full professor at Faculty of Economics, University of Ljubljana. He is regular member of Academic Unit Money and Finance, and associated member of Academic Unit Auditing and Accounting. Now, those of you who are expecting a presentation full of economic words, lots of schemes, lots of numbers, lots of expert terms, brace, because you're up for a surprise. Aljosha, now you can come on stage. Thanks. But before I leave you to talk, you have to answer the same question as everybody who's at this event. What is your special talent?
Good morning.
Huh? Does it work?
My special talent.
Not yet.
Work?
Let's get it work. Technology is something that always messes up with talents.
Okay. Yeah?
Yes,
Okay, good morning.
it's working now. So your special talent is?
My special talent is baking cakes. Not the usual thing, but yes.
Not something that we would guess from your bio. The cakes, I saw a picture, are probably very good in taste, but also very sophisticated in design.
Yes.
But let's hear other talents as well. The stage is yours. Thanks, Aljosha.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning. So, do talents matter is the question we want to ask today. Yes, they do, but it's the looks that can also be deceiving. Let's see how. Can you focus your gaze at these circles for a few seconds? Yeah? Are they standing still or are they spinning around? Some of them are spinning, some of them are not. Also, you should notice that some are spinning in clockwise direction, the others are spinning anti-clockwise, depending on where you sit right now. Yeah? It depends on the angle. But most of us will agree that these circles, at least some of them are moving, yes? Okay. Actually, they are not. It's just that we think they are. So the question is why? And it seems to be that our brain is pre-programmed to make us see things that the brain thinks we should be seeing and not what is really in front of us. Yeah? So in the case of these circles, they are dotted, they are spotted, and the brain is looking for clues in history, and it remembers the past time, distant past, where bright spots and dark spots and bright spots and dark spots again were moving in the grass actually, and when people had to get away from these things, otherwise they might get bitten, and it was obviously a dangerous situation. And the brain remembers this, and so whenever we see spots, then it remembers that snakes had spots at some point in the past, and that the snakes were also moving. And so the circles that we saw are actually standing still. It's just the brain makes us think that they are circling the same way as the snake is moving around. So the geometric shape is an easy shape. So that when the brain is presented with a complex landscape, such as a face, then it starts doing the same thing 10 times harder. And what it does, it looks at the face and tries and looks for signals about cues about what this face is trying to tell us, and it tries to remember what is going to happen in society, what is going to happen with this person as an economic person, what is going to happen with him or her in terms of reproductive success, passing genes on, and stuff like that, including what happens in businesses. So the brain will start to look for cues about a potential business performance of a person. And what it comes up is simple rules, such as a person that looks more trustworthy is going to perform better, and the company is going to perform better. A person that is looking dominant will perform better. A person that is better looking will perform better. A person that appears to be likable will perform better, and stuff like that. Yeah, many things like that the brain is processing in itself. And let us just see how our brains work. Let me ask you, which of these three persons would you pick as CEOs for your company? You obviously see that this is the same person, yet it's not quite the same, is it? So which one? You're on your right, yes, on my left, yeah? You know why? It turns out that we can't really say it in words in most cases why, but it turns out that these images have been modified in a way that then people think they liked it. And some of the cues that are given is if you look at the lips, they are thin. If you look at the corners of the lips, they're pointing upwards. If you look at the eyebrows, they are relatively thin. Eyes are relatively big. The nose is relatively horizontal and narrow, and stuff like that. Yeah? So this stuff can be easily picked up by the computer, and it turns out that the ratio of the facial width compared to the facial height is actually what determines whether we say a person is good looking or not. It's a little bit more complex, but almost exactly like I said. Yeah? So when we have this knowledge, then the question is, we were picking CEOs based on the looks. Do you pick members of your companies based on looks? No. Yeah? You probably say no. Yeah? So going into the real world then. These are 12 CEOs of 12 large American corporations. The pictures are natural pictures that were just made black and white, and they asked random people which of these persons looks more trustworthy, more competent, more likable, and stuff like that, so that then would they be able best to run their companies in the future. Random people with no knowledge of financial stuff, no history of accounting, no history of finance, and nothing like that. Yeah? So my choice would be the person under the H, on the bottom left of your side. I would also say that I would never pick the person on top on top left corner, simply because I dislike bow ties. I can't tell you why, but it's just a visual clue that I'm taking for the environment, and I dislike them. Yeah. The bow ties, I mean, not the persons. But I fall for this. Yeah? So people ranked these CEOs, and a year after that, they checked how well these companies were performing. It turns out that the person who was most likable, most trustworthy, just by the mere looks, also was running a company that increased revenue by most. Yeah? The person who was ranking the lowest, also the company was at the bottom. Yeah? So it's surprising, isn't it, that we're able to tell things merely from the looks. And this is not something that is limited to a cultural or something like that, cultural environment or something like that. Yeah? We see very nice pictures in our companies as well. Krka, Triglav, not only they are nice pictures themselves, also the people are positioned in ways that we tend to like. Yeah? Petrol, telecom, and so on. Yeah? So this is pervasive, it's all over. Is that a problem? Well, it's not a problem so long as this nice pictures signal something that then materializes in economic terms. So for sure we know that it pays off for the managers to look good because they then get a higher salary. Yeah, so the beauty premium is something that has been established quite well in the literature for long periods of time now, and it works quite well. There's also a baby-facedness penalty. People who have a baby face tend to look not competent in this stuff, and it might be true or not, it's just that they get paid less in the end. Yeah? The problem is, if the well-paid people were doing well, that would be great, and it would be an economic signal just as any other, and I'd have no problem in that. But it turns out that the performance of the companies then, actually, when you see the wood, is not that good. So not only they do not perform better, it so happens that they also, it might be that these companies are actually performing worse than other companies. So, looks, they are important and they are signals. But in the same way as a lighthouse can provide the road to safety at sea, it depends on the perspective. So if it's just a toy put on a beach, a model, it won't help sailors navigate to safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyosha. You can take a seat. Lots of questions were sparking in my mind. The first one was, let's say I'm applying for a job in a tech company, Apple, Microsoft, and this is a tech job. Would it help me to look a little bit more hipsterish?
No.
Okay, thank you. Good to know. Let's call our next speakers. Our next guest today, and I'm doing that in alphabetical order, is Mitja Jermol. Mitja Jermol is working at Institute Josef Stefan. He has 3 areas of engagement. First area, and I have to read this because it's really complex, UNESCO Chair on Open Technologies for Open Educational Resources and Open Education. Whew. Was that approximately right? The second is Head of Center for Knowledge Transfer. That was easier. And the third one was also most relevant for what we do today. He is the program manager in the field of artificial intelligence, because we're going to talk a lot about how technology, especially artificial intelligence, combats with how we nurture, attract, and keep talent. So Mitja, please join us on stage. Thank you. You can take a seat. Does it work? It doesn't? Let's get the technology to work. Obviously, this was not done.
It works.
It works now, okay. First question for you is the same as for everybody. What is your special talent?
So a special talent would be, I'm very good at connecting 2 different worlds, or several different worlds together. That would mean this is something which is embedded when you do research or development on AI, because we do quite a lot of projects in several areas. So you see good practices that works in one place and are not being accepted on the other. So this translation between the worlds, between the domains, this is something I do quite well.
Give us some examples. What are those worlds? And how are they relevant for the people who are here today, mostly involved in business, HR?
I mean, for example, if you look at pharmaceutical industries, they have quite well established standards and business cases for the complete production lines, which on the other side, if you go to manufacturing processes, they don't have that. So for example, this is something which is very obvious to anybody, but this just doesn't really translate from one word to another. But there are also other things. I mean, we do quite a lot of work with media, with banking, and those are things which certainly are very suitable if you look them through the eyes of a medical doctor.
Okay, interesting. Lots of different worlds here today. I'm eager to hear more. Our next speaker is Maria Melkova. Maria is Modern Workplace Business Group Lead at Microsoft. Maria, please join us on stage. And you said we can call you Masha as well. Give a round of applause. When I was talking to Maria, what does this sophisticated title mean? She said, I'm helping people to collaborate better and achieve more by that, and companies. Okay? Speaking about workplaces, where is your current workplace?
On the plane, in 50% of the time, because I'm responsible for the region which covers 24 countries, sort of legally based in Slovenia when I'm not based on the plane. So it's anywhere where I have access to Wi-Fi.
We are becoming more and more country agnostic, right? But you are based in Slovenia. Which talent does Slovenia have to attract a person like you to come and be based here when you're not on planes?
Confidence, scalability, because the country is relatively small, so it's easy to scale the things around. Openness to the world, which Slovenia historically had. For example, I'm originally Russian. We never had openness to the world, right? Slovenia has it, so comparatively.
Is that the part of our historic legacy?
I think so. It's also part of your historic education, which was average like higher than in maybe other countries of Yugoslavia, say, for example, right? You were closer to the West, which allowed you to learn from the West, right? I don't know. Historically, as I learned, like many of your aristocrats, for example, they learned in Austria, right, to bring that flavor. I think it gives a lot of power to the people who are living in the country.
Just one extension. Did you say confidence when you started answering this question?
Yes, I did.
Okay, tell us more about that. We need to hear that.
I think people are confident in what they are doing, maybe, right? They, again, like the country is relatively small, it's easy to test and try things, right? So I think testing and trying gives you ability to learn and then gives the ability to be confident in what you're doing. At least when we are comparing our region and the countries, we have, as I said, like from Mongolia to Slovenia, and then from Estonia to Albania, if I go like on the compass, right? So I think Slovenia is probably one of the most countries from which we're learning in other countries of the region. Maybe second out of two, probably Slovenia is one of them.
Okay, nice to hear that from somebody outside. I don't have a talent, obviously, for alphabetics because I messed it up already. I should have called Dejana Jezeršek. Dejana Jezeršek is a co-founder and head of studies and development at Language Sitter. She was also a top potential of the year by AmCham 2017, and she is on a mission to change educational systems. Dejana, when you are walking on the stage, let me just hope that this is not a mission impossible. Dejana, you know the drill. You know what I'm going to ask you. What is your special talent?
I would say I have a sum of certain skills that to me always appeared as something completely normal, but have been labeled as a talent lately. I want to hear more about this from the others as well, what's their opinion. But if you're looking for a specific talent, I would say teaching. And I really found myself in this. And teaching foreign languages is primarily what I do, but I want to expand this further.
Do Slovenians have talent for foreign languages in general?
We do, and all the statistics prove that.
Good. Okay, now we are all on stage except for Mr. Alexander Zalaznik. He is CEO of Danfostrata, but his talents are needed in the headquarters today. So we have to excuse him. My first question for all of the speakers is, does Slovenia have a talent for talent? And I need a yes and no answer plus why in one sentence. Alyosha, we will start with you.
Yes, it does, and it's because it's open to foreign cultures by default. We have an economy that is exporting 3/4 of what it's doing, and this is the largest, I would think, incentive for us to be open.
Mm-hmm. Masha?
Yeah, as I said, I think it does. Openness, already mentioned, right? I think I sort of briefly answered when we were doing the introductions. I think openness, ability to integrate with other countries, which is in the modern world absolutely needed. We'll probably talk about what is missing for now, but let's see.
Okay, so openness, ability to integrate. I allow you to agree, but I do not allow you to use the same openness or integration. So we have to build on that. Mitya, your turn.
No, yes and no. So we are very good at nurturing the talent, but we are not very good at attracting the talent.
Mm-hmm. Tell us more. I know I said one sentence, but because you said no, I now have the right to challenge you a little bit more. Why are we not good?
I mean, I don't think that we don't know how to sell Slovenia. I mean, if you look around and see what we have here, and in particular the people that are coming to Slovenia to visit us, to work with us, they always say, I mean, you have everything here, so why should you go outside? It's just that we don't really understand, because we live here, so for us it's something which is very usual, I guess, and we don't really do that, and it's a pity.
So we take it as business as usual, but not a good strategy. Diana, what would you say? Please say no.
Well, having a talent is one thing, but what you do with it is another.
Okay.
So I think Slovenia has a talent. From my experience, I would say it's a perfect sandpit for starting a company, and also all the mentors are really accessible. You can get the knowledge just by one call. And but what we do with it is another thing. I do agree that we are still performing badly with keeping talents here. We are really good at startup scene, encouraging people, but once they are established individuals, established companies, it feels like we don't know what to do with them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and now I have a question for all of you in the audience. Of course, not able to get one sentence answers from all of you, but I just want to know who thinks in this room that Slovenia has a talent for talents. I know it's a general question. Raise your hand if you agree. Let's see what's the pulse in the room. Okay, about 3/4. So the right question is not whether we have it, obviously we do, it's what we do with it. That was the opinion from our guest today, but there is a research on how competitive are countries globally in attracting talent. It was done by INSEAD and supported by ADECO. We have Miro Smrekar here. Thanks for coming. Tell us a little bit more about that research. If I'm correct, Slovenia ranked 28th among 119 countries when it comes to hardcore evidence. How capable are we? How competitive are we when it comes to talent? Can you tell us a little bit more about that? First, is it a good ranking or not?
Relatively, like all the things in our life. 28 is okay if you look out of 110 countries. You can imagine where to live, where you want your kids to grow up, where you want to establish your business. What we observe is that Slovenia is stable, so we are not moving in years nowhere, and this is not good, because if you're not moving nowhere, you don't know what is behind. And Slovenia obviously has a lot of talented people. Great companies are here surrounding us, as well as the nature, the society. Everything is very nice. And I think in growing the talent, we are doing really well. So allowing people to be ready for the next step. I think that in the development of the talent and really how we are using the talent, we are probably weaker, and the weakest point is definitely how to attract talent from abroad. Competitiveness means that you're not alone. And sometimes I think we believe here that yes, people will stay with us, people will, they have no other choice, we are so nice, but it's not true. Being in 50% of the time in the planes, you of course observe different things, and people like to go there where they will see the next challenge. And the talent needs a challenge. And what we noticed as well is that there's a clear lack in the dialogue between education systems, business community, and government. So if those three stakeholders would sit together and look a few years ago, and here I think we have some great speakers today, and Alyosha, by the way, for the next job we can talk. So it's really that if those people would sit together, would be open to different ideas, the talent would prove that we would come up to the very good solutions.
Okay, thank you. When we talked about openness a lot. Let's talk about how in today more and more globalized world, how do we even evaluate which talents do we need in Slovenia to be more competitive, and what do we need to do to be more competitive in this respect? I think, Mitja, you are working on some really interesting projects where you are assessing what is a global or at least a continental picture about this flow and value of talents across countries.
Yeah. So since we are working with, we are dealing with big data and all this stuff, so one of the line of the activities is actually understanding what is going on across the globe, number one, and number two, we are able to use all this information which is available as an open data or whatever, your job description or whatever, to automatically calculate the competencies. So one of the projects we did recently, and it was a kind of prototype still, was the data that we got from one of the largest UK CRM agency. It's a kind of a, let's say, enriched LinkedIn. And just from the information you will get from the historical part, so how people are changing the jobs, you can find out pretty much a lot of stuff about the domain, so in which people are working and why they're moving and translating to some other places, about why they're leaving a company and getting to another one. And this is, you can see the kind of a crowd movement. It's not just white person, it's really crowd movement. And if you match this information then to what is going across the globe, since we are reading or whatever is going on, plus the information about the, let's say, the essence of it, you can find out pretty much where actually the talents are growing up and where they are going to, and what are the current trends into development of the particular areas, which might be either the old one and getting into restructuring, or the new one, completely new one.
Okay. I don't know if this is the right question, but where are the talents heading to right now, according to this project research?
All over the place, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's not really anymore. We expected, it will be like Silicon Valley again and all this. It's not really happening that anymore.
Any other trends that are worth knowing? Let's say I have to deal with that within a company. How would that help me understand which people I have to be particularly concerned about that they're going to leave?
So there are several things you have to look. So we did as well quite a lot of projects with serious companies across the globe about, so what is the question was, what do I have in my company? How my company really breathes? Usually what you do in any big company, you will, do it top down. You will pre-describe the job posts and jobs and activities that has to be done, but eventually you all know that company works completely different. Now, what we did and we find out is that on one side you can certainly very easily see what is the landscape of competencies you have. If you are able, and this is what we do, if you are able to look at the trends globally, so calculate the trends globally, and extract potential competencies for a potential new trend which is just coming out, you can find out what is the distance between current competencies I have in a company and a potential competencies that should be there for the company to get into a new business opportunity. And then, and this is what I do as an open education, all this stuff. So then, of course, you can automatically or semi-automatically create a learning curves. So actually, your learning paths and the learning programs for the company to start working on that today, because we know that it will come next year. So those are the things which can be done by the technology we already have.
If I'm a company and I know something is coming up, I know I have a support in a research and projects such as this one, do I know, is anybody there to tell me how long is the cycle for something particular that I will be interested in the future?
It depends on how strong the signals are. So usually you will see in this complex world, you will see something is going on. But then, of course, what we do, we don't say this will certainly happen. What we're saying is those are the potential, the possibilities that this will happen. So it's up to you at the end of the day to decide whether you go into that or not.
So this is the tool that helps me design the strategy in terms of development, learning and development in the company better.
That would be a kind of a support, yeah.
Good. Let's go, as we're talking about companies, let's talk about economic value of talent. Can this be calculated, Alyosha? Now your talents for accounting and money and finance are coming to picture.
It can, it is. The case of Elon Musk in the last weeks is an obvious example. Elon Musk is valued at $22 billion. So we can put a tag on the price on a talent.
22 billion.
22 billion.
So we would have to spend 2/3 of national GDP to get him to work in Slovenia?
Yes,
Okay.
slightly more. Slightly
know.
less, sorry, yes. The issue that we have is that in finance and in the economics in general, we tend to look at the expenses we have for talent as expenses, actually, not as an investment. And that is a big problem. So up until we get to the next stage where we can evaluate these talents properly, it'll be an open issue. We do have a problem.
How interested are companies in dealing with this area as an investment instead of costs? How are managers eager to turn this mindset?
Again, looking at Elon Musk, the biggest worry wasn't the penalties he would potentially have to pay because of his big mouth, but what would happen had he been forced to leave the company, and that was the biggest worry. So we need to think in terms of the value of the talent, not in terms of financial numbers in the current place.
Okay. When a company is on stock exchange, that's calculatable. How about when we are dealing with smaller companies that are maybe interested in developing this area really well? Can you calculate the value of talents for them as well?
No,
based on other indicators?
It's the same thing. It's just
Same
a matter
thing.
of the indicators, but
Okay.
it's absolutely the same thing.
Yeah, I have, for my benefit, I have to tell you that I haven't studied economics. Okay, Diana, you were top potential of the year. Tell me, what was easier? And when you started talking about your talent, it was, oh, it's more like skills. Were you able to recognize this at yourself when you were, before you were awarded with this title?
Actually, when I was thinking about this, I kind of saw a pattern that was going on throughout the whole life, coming to this point of being top potential. It started with my grandma, actually. She was the biggest fan. She used to look straight into my forehead saying, "How do you manage to squeeze all that knowledge in there?" And she set the bar really high. And what happened later on with teachers, professors, my employers, was it wasn't me actually climbing the ladder, trying, exposing my skills, fighting for something. Actually, they put me there already, having really high expectations towards me, pushing me forward, and I had no idea why. It was like from the second day wherever I came. And for example, if I got a bad grade at the faculty, professor would ask me about my health. And I was just like, I'm happy, this is a trophy, I got 7 at English verb, this is an achievement. But they actually said if I felt bad and if I want to repeat the exam, and I was like, why do they have these high expectations? But it's in my nature, I wanted to justify this. That's why I worked so much harder.
Okay, let's stop right there. And I warned everybody that I will be interrupting a lot. Let's stop right there. There are a lot of people who have the same professors and maybe similar, familiar backgrounds, but they do not all of them come to be top potential of the year. So where was this difference? You started talking about personality. So what do we do with ourselves to nurture our own talent first? What did you do?
At one point, what bothered me and why I felt uncomfortable at this position that I was put in, I felt as a burden, was because I didn't feel solid ground. I wanted to be professional at something. I wanted to have knowledge. I didn't want just to be put somewhere and trying to fake this and justify by saying something smart or whatever. And when AmCham came, it was even before the title. But at that point, I felt, okay, they believe in me as well, so I'm okay. I built something. I felt solid ground for the first time. I felt we're building this company. I came here. I know what I'm talking about. I'm dedicated to education, and I think it's this finding your purpose and building your knowledge in that direction was the key.
Okay, so it's a little bit of both. It's about you having it and about your environment recognizing it and supporting it. I'm going directly to Mitja. Mitja, at Instituut Jozef Stefan, you get the best and the brightest. What do you offer them to keep them entertained? Or is it something else that they need to be in order to stay?
Yeah, a challenge.
A challenge.
Challenge which should be global. So the people that are actually in our group, and now they're roughly around 80, are the ones who want to actually win globally. This is number one. And number two, just few rules and a lot of freedom. And an ecosystem that actually enables them to follow their dream. So we don't provide any obstacles. There are clear rules that we have, which is you never say no to anybody. You just say, I don't have time now, I will do that tomorrow, or whatever. So collaboration, sharing principles, trust, being open, being enthusiastic, having new ideas, and we pretty much appreciate any new criticism that comes out. Since I'm already in the age of 50, and when we have these group meetings, it's I already.
But is this a part of the culture, and how much is this connected with the core business that you're doing? Can somebody who is active in plastic processing establish the same kind of culture, although they don't have as many scientific challenges?
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So never say no. Give them a challenge. They come to you because they want to succeed globally. What does Slovenia need to do to replicate that in other organizations? So how do we attract those people who want to succeed globally to other organizations as well? Is there something systemic that we can do?
I mean, I can speak about the academia and research. So the revitalization processes in academia and research are a little bit lagging behind. So this is something which should be done more. You cannot have a professor, and sorry, there are professors here in the room as well, so which actually is getting towards retirement to still have a kind of a final say on whether this person should go into this direction or the other direction, building his career. Because the younger generation, even the generation that is coming behind us, is completely different, and they are working completely different, in a different way. They're understanding the globe differently, and they know, they have this, concept of sharing and collaboration in their blood, which we haven't grown that. We will, At the university, at the exams, you would be your own. You have to take care about yourself. It's not collaborating.
And now I'm challenging Alyosha. Alyosha, can something be achieved before the generations turn? And what should be done?
No, the generations have turned already.
But?
So this is why I thought the issue, what do you do to keep them entertained, is actually very important. It's not something that was present in my student years, but it's an important part of my job now, to keep them entertained, simply because they otherwise run off to the economy. And right now, when the economic climate is such as now, when the salaries in the private sector are increasing in our area, then this is an important part, yes. So we have to deal with this. Also, at some point, we'll have to really change this past meritocracy to change, because we simply spend too much money based on work that was done 30 or 50 years ago by people who should actually retire now and put more money in the young people.
So there are something that can be turned into a concrete proposal, at least when it comes to the university education. Am I right?
When it comes to university, absolutely.
Yeah? Okay. Diana, you are on a mission to change educational system. Tell us a little bit more about that. How would you do that? Because you have a talent for teaching.
I know where you're getting this sentence, I want to change educational system from, but...
It was written on AmCham page.
Where did you get it?
So you have to talk to Aisha about that.
No, really, on my bucket list is really to make one change in it. The educational system is a large system, and there are so many stakeholders in it, and it feels like we are in this magical circle, more in a negative sense. And this is what we're now doing in Partnership for Change. We had a project that we want to identify good professors, to show actually good practices, what can be done already in the school system as it is, not to always expose bad things about it and just, I don't know, generalize everything's bad, but actually trying with, I still think that the professors are the key, this human touch. I mean, no matter what kind of school it is, no matter what kind of system it is, it's always the person. And this is also what we do at Language Theatre, you know, we really know how important our teacher is. So I think this is the start of what I want to change, is to recognize what is actually a good professor. That there is kind of a belief that we hear in schools when teachers say to good students, you are too good to be a teacher. It's a waste of you to become a teacher. How did we end up in this situation? It's horrible. And also when I see good professors, good teachers, I say, for example, when you have strike. I always see good professors, they don't go out on the street because for them it's unacceptable to leave 25 students without teaching them something on that day. So those are the people we want to expose in this first year, not going with some kind of reformation or
okay. You're opening up a very important topic, but for this I need Masha's help. Masha, you said we have confidence, we have openness, we're willing to integrate with others. Now tell me, as a Russian living in Slovenia, on a scale from being very negative and noticing only what is bad and being always whining about it, to being fully positive, everything is awesome, where is Slovenia? And let's say this is 0 and this is 10.
4.
Okay, why?
Yeah, I think, and again, like, I'm Russian, right? So I'm on 0, just for people to be aware, right? Like culturally, our level of trust, which is also proved by scientists, Russian level of trust is 0 by default. Like we've been through so many troubles as a country historically, so we don't actually usually trust the people.
Okay.
And that's like like American, you know, there is this an example, like answering your question. There is this. How to say, our association, right? There are peach cultures and there are coconut cultures, right? The peach culture is the culture which is like a traditional American, like very nice, very wonderful, soft, you know, like you want to try it and test it, but actually in the middle of it there is a nut which you'll never break through. Never, like never American will become you a true, ultimate, I don't know, like super sincere, until you maybe like, I don't know, work with the person or live with the person for, I don't know, 20 years.
Okay.
Russian culture is a coconut culture, right? It's a very, very harsh nut. It's very hard to get through. But if you are curious about, if you want to understand why we are so black and white, right? Inside of this coconut, there is this wonderful like milk of the coconut, right? Which will actually, if you get through, it's a lifelong friendship, right?
Okay, so we know America and Russia,
I think
Slovenia.
Slovenia, for me as a foreigner, and I need to make a mark here, I'm not living in Ljubljana, I'm living in the middle of nowhere in the mountains, in the village, and that's why my experience is also very interesting, because the experience in Ljubljana is totally different from the experience in the village in Garinska, right?
Okay.
So I think you are closer to the coconut culture, right?
Okay.
I believe you
But
are more
from
closed.
0 being negative, 10 being positive, Ljubljana and villages, how do they rank?
Village will be 2, Ljubljana will be 6.
Okay, good. Good to know.
Because you have a lot of international students in Ljubljana, and that's coming back to the talent-like conversation. I think for us in Microsoft, definitely one of the things which talent today needs is ability to learn 24 hours a day from any place, right? And this is something which for me, as I was talking to some colleagues in the office, for me it's interesting that in some places in Slovenia, like where I live, for example, as we discussed in the morning, there is no GSM, right? Okay, the talent, young talent, if it is a graduate of an international outside of Slovenia university, right? For him to be attracted to this country, he needs or she needs to get access to simple things, which is internet, mobile phone, and learning. As soon as the country of your size can provide that, attraction is very easy, because as a Russian, I know that coming to Slovenia is easy. I've been in Turkey before for 2.5 years, I can compare. Opening a company in Slovenia is very easy and very transparent for the foreigners, including Russians. You have already systems which allow to attract the talent. Just this couple of the things like fine-tuning a little bit technology, and fine-tuning a little bit understanding that you are part of something bigger.
Okay, interesting.
These two things, and it will like flourish. I mean, security-wise, nature-wise, location-wise, it's so attractive for people. Just fine-tune a little bit the speed of the processes and a little bit availability of technologies, because otherwise, young generation will not come.
Young generation, this is a key word for a couple of questions I have for you. And we can not talk about talent if we don't talk about millennials. And I know you are dealing with that audience quite a lot, and you're saying this is a peculiar but valid audience. Why are they peculiar?
They're unpredictable, I think. That's one thing. And I'm representing, like, my mom is representing baby boomers. She was born in 1941. My son is 19 years old. He's actually almost millennial by the graph, right? They're unpredictable. They don't care about the brand. It's a statistically proven.
What do they care about?
They care about that their passions or their interests are satisfied. They care about flexibility of the space they work in terms of like working time. It will be super hard to hire a millennial who works from 8 to 4 with half an hour time break for lunch from the office in front of the desktop, right? Like you'll kill him or her, right? So I think they care about a social responsibility. That's also proven by the researchers. They care that the company does good things for society. A lot, like one of, I think it's second top of mind of millennial after flexibility. And they care about ability to learn globally, because the majority of them grew up in the open web society, right? So they are very easy to learn online, to connect with, like, to work in the virtual projects teams, as like the people were saying before. This is, if company cannot offer that, don't even try. Better hire people around 30. They will be much more stable, right, than the millennial who will come, and if he from the phone cannot learn, he'll just leave in 3 months.
So not being global makes you not talented for attracting the talent. Am I right? Or are there ways, even if there is a local company or a regional one, to provide something that is still a global experience enough for talents, for millennials?
I think what I faced, I know a lot of millennials, obviously, because of my son, right? What I faced is that some of them, they know what they want. A lot of them know what they want. So actually there are two categories. There is like half of them who have no clue what they want, right? And there's another half which actually knows precisely what they want, to the level of, I don't know, I want to be a techno-nanobiologist and I want to study in that university and then I want to join this company because they're the best in the nanobiology, right? So I think if your company is offering to the millennials something which he or she is truly passionate about, like my son wants to be a football coach, right?
Okay.
So whichever company, even if it is a super local one, will offer him an opportunity to train kids football, he will love it and he'll dedicate it. But if the millennial is like on another side who wants to scale globally, do artificial intelligence, do global teaching, do healthcare, these are the industries where it cannot be local because it depends on the industrial revolution. So it depends on the global scale and knowledge.
Okay. At Microsoft, what do you do in a super competitive tech world to attract those people?
We teach them. Online is online learning. Like I think if I have to identify the talent for Microsoft, it will be agile challenger who wants to learn, right? Because online platforms of the learning are available for you. They are based on artificial intelligence in case of Microsoft. So whatever I learned, for example, in the last year, the system will automatically offer me what's next, my learning curve, and learning applies for myself, for, I don't know, Barbara sitting in this room, for whoever is here, like in Microsoft. It applies based on your profile and based on what you learned in the last year, and it's available from phone, device, any time of the day on demand.
So those are the two worlds that can get easily connected. Knowing the competencies and the landscape of where the talent is and the life cycles and what you need, and then having the tools to do it. We have talked about millennials, but I think the average age here would be about 20. Let's talk about talents that are more mature. And I think here somewhere we have somebody who is wearing a really strange suit. Am I right? Shh. You're not wearing it anymore. Okay, let's talk about it. It was an age simulator. And it was presented to Slovenia by Pokojninska družba A, and you have tried it on, right? What is your name?
Špela.
Špela. Where are you coming from? Which company?
Language Sitter.
Language Sitter. So you put the suit on. Tell us a little bit about the experience. How did you feel?
Weird. I always wanted to achieve like 120 years or something. Right now I changed my mind. I'm like, no, 80 is more than enough. I started breathing really shallow. My muscles were in pain, so I still feel kind of weird. My back, like, oh my God. So a weird feeling, I don't know.
Okay. How old did you feel? Can you express that in a number?
No.
No. Okay. How long did you have it on?
Half an hour?
Half an hour,
Yeah.
and it was extremely difficult.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you for trying out for us, being a test pilot for this. I'm going back to my speakers, especially to Masha, because Masha was talking about millennials. How about me? I'm 46. Do I stand a chance getting a job at Microsoft?
I'm 44. And I'm in Microsoft right now.
Okay.
And by the way, I am not a technological person. My education is history of art.
History of art,
so
interesting.
It's like type of, it doesn't matter. I mean, like coming back to my example, the baby boomers and millennials both prefer the same working tool. They both prefer physical conversation. Out of all the tools, we did the research across like 10 different things like email, chats, webinars, online conferencing, physical conversation. These two extreme, completely different audiences prefer the same working tool for collaboration, which is physical conversation. So I think it's a question of how you sort of learn these metrics and how in the teams you put together yourself, myself, and the millennial, find in between us the equalities, and then also find in between us what each one of them can bring to other, right? Because that's what drives millennial, and that's what will drive us, because we can learn from them a lot as well.
Okay.
So I think it's a matter of how the companies are actually setting up the teams, and how the companies are offering them different variety of the tools for everyone in the project to be enjoying, right? That's, I think, the core.
Now I have to challenge Alyosha. Alyosha, Are millennials worth more than mature talents for a company in general? Is there a general answer for that?
Can I turn this a little bit around?
No, yes, of course.
I think we have a lot to learn from the millennials for the fact that I see plenty of people in this age group. Just they stop learning, they stop enjoying stuff, and they stop exploring, and they end up in this old age group, so to speak, yeah? When they should continue really to develop their talents. So if this happens, then it's a waste for companies to, it's a pure waste for the companies. Really.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
This person was with us for 40 years. She or he knows a lot of stuff, and now
and then they
he's
just
gone.
stop. But that's not the right way to do it.
Okay.
And this is, I think, an important point that we need to keep in mind. So it's not a matter of whether the millennials are worth more to us or the older people are more worth to us. It's just, it's rather learning from one from the other, I think, that is important.
Okay, good. And how good are we in putting in place system that allows this conversation to be very active, right?
Yes, okay. Here we have a lot to do.
Thank you. Mitya, artificial intelligence. What kind of talents do we need to nurture, us with natural intelligence, to be able to thrive in times of the rise of artificial intelligence?
So let's say one of the most important things is, of course, to understand that those machines are not anymore just machines. So the question is like a moral perspective.
Okay.
Let's say, whether are we able to understand that these machines might someday be equal to us, and that we would have a different type of relation to them. Even today already, you work with your phone differently than you did years ago, or when there was the old phones as well. So it's about us understanding that there is some other world somewhere there which actually is not being clear yet how it would look like, but certainly it's actually us being open to something that is coming from the other side. The fact so what we see as an AI is actually that AI, because it's an algorithm, is mathematics, is actually showing us the humanity a mirror. And this is what we are afraid of.
Oh,
you know?
okay. Interesting.
Very quickly to add, I can compare three countries like Russia, Slovenia, and Turkey. Slovenia's advantage for the artificial intelligence is the fact that many people I'm working with are capable to algorithm. They are capable to build a process, 1A, 1B, etc., right? Which is also quite a strong skill in the Russian society, but it's actually not a very strong skill in the Turkish society yet, right? So absolutely true. Humanities will become even bigger in the upcoming 2-3 years, because in the upcoming 2-3 years, machines through AI will do everything. So the human part, empathy, as was mentioned earlier today, intuition, attribution of the things, like memories, this will become next step for education and for the talent, because all the processing will be done by AI.
Okay, one more thing from Alyosha, and then we will gradually conclude.
The graph I've showed in the beginning, the circles, they were taken from a paper that was published 3 months ago. And it's there because the artificial intelligence was able to learn the way our brain works. Not only the pluses, but also the faults we have.
Okay. I hope somebody at AmCham is writing down the idea for at least one of the next breakfast, and this is artificial intelligence. We're touching upon some really interesting things here. Thanks for now. Don't go away just yet. But we have keynote listeners here. One of them is Matej Zavrl. He is Managing Director of Goodyear, Slovenia. Matej, you know the drill. What is your talent?
Good morning. I would actually answer what I think it's my talent by answering the question in what I really enjoy doing it. And that's working with the people.
Okay.
And I still see a lot of room there to further influence the mindset.
Oh. Okay.
I think I heard something similar this morning. So actually, we should all influence the way we think to become more growth mindset oriented. So we can change, we can improve, and also proactive. So become responsible for your own destiny. So me as a manager, by influencing the people, I can influence their growth and potential a lot.
Okay. Keep the microphone, you will need it. I think Jack Welch said that he is just a gardener, and he has to nurture all the 650 top managers within GE. He has to take some weeds out from time to time. But now my question is, what is Goodyear globally doing to attract talent, or maybe steal talent for other companies that are so powerful in being sexy today for young people?
There is one Goodyear way, which I think it's important. It starts actually by a very clear goal, easy to understand by everyone, a strategy, how to get there. We are building our brand by living the values. And what we are very disciplined, actually, it's about nurturing the talents in the company.
Oh, okay.
So
when they are there, not let them leave somewhere.
And give them opportunities, which it's actually pretty easy as we are global. So that goes back also to what's happening in Slovenia.
Okay.
So we are providing the opportunities all across the globe for the associates willing to move and be ready to accept a bigger challenge.
Okay, thank you. Our next active listener is His Excellency Denis Nobel, the ambassador of Switzerland. According to Global Talent Competitiveness Index, Switzerland is number 1, right? Okay. So, Mr. Nobel, my question for you is, of course, first, what is your talent?
No, I was waiting for the talent question. Football.
Oh, good.
And actually, I was never a top scorer, but I used to play more in the midfield to construct the team, the play, and to bring the team together to a goal, to achieve something. So I think this is my talent.
Okay, you still need it. One thing, and I'll take this the other way. One thing, you are the first according to this index, and I think you can be very proud of that. But one thing you are learning from Slovenians in terms of nurturing, keeping the talent.
Well, I think we have a lot of similarities between Switzerland and Slovenia. So one thing is, I mean, if you look to talents, to patents, to Nobel Prize per capita, we are always among the 3 best. So it's not because Adecco is a Swiss company and the index. I think we are really innovation leader and we are among the best. And I think Slovenia is also on a good way to achieve that. Per capita is important. We are not good if you speak of volume, if you speak of big markets. Per capita means we are small, and Slovenia is also small. So we have to go international, we have to export, we have to be competitive and to focus on quality, not on volume. So this is, of course, something which makes the innovation policies and the attractiveness for talents a key competitive issue. So we were speaking of openness. I think this is true also for Switzerland. Between 20 and 30% of our students at the universities are foreigners. Between 25 and 50% of the teachers and professors are foreigners. So these are facts. Another thing is maybe closeness. I mean, to be close one to each other. So this is a characteristic of Switzerland. Our universities are not on a state level, but are on cantonal level. So we are close to the region, or the municipalities through our federative system is, of course, very close to the context, to the private sector. And I think this relation between authorities, public institutions, and private sector is a key issue in Switzerland, a key factor of success. In fact, our research is private-based. It's done and financed by 2/3 by private companies. So it's not state. Our minister used to say, we have no innovation policy. We have no innovation policy, but we are number 1 according to this index. So meaning we are close to the needs and to the capacities of the private sector. And we are working very, very closely together in education, in innovation. So in education, it starts with a dual education system. It starts with a good, electricians and mechanics. It goes through to high school, technical high schools, and it ends up with polytechnics. We have only 2 polytechnics in Switzerland, one in Zurich and one in Lausanne. And I can give you concrete examples, let's say, about Lausanne if you are interested. I think this closeness is very, very important. This allows us to make a policy which is bottom-up. We have not a top-down approach. We are not deciding which sectors will be the sectors of innovation in the future, but we just have good framework conditions. And that's the main point. I think also Slovenia is working on it. Good framework conditions means you have to valorize also innovation. I mean, if you buy a Swiss product, it has a price. Swiss made is more expensive, but you have quality. If you have a health system where it's only about price and generics, you will not contribute to the development of high-level innovation in that sector. So I think this is this closeness also between state and private companies, and to let them to be in the driving seat.
No, thank you. I don't know whether you're familiar with the fact that Slovenia was aspiring to be the next Switzerland for time. Are you aware of that?
I heard that in Bulgaria too.
For those of you who might have not heard, Mr. Knobel heard that about Bulgaria too. But there are some similarities, and we should be proud about that. Thank you to all the speakers. A big round of applause for all of them. But we're still not quite done. I need all of you for just a minute. When you were coming in, we were asking you, what is your talent? And those of you who were thinking about, why do I need to think about that? There's the reason. Now we will make a prize draw and choose 5 people randomly who get to go to a talent lunch. And maybe at this talent lunch you can choose some of the topics that we addressed here and get them further. So let's get to business. A lot of papers here. Alyosha, would you pick one? I like this talent. The talent is passion. And the owner of this talent is Živa Praprotnik. Congratulations, Živa. Masha, can you choose one? The talent here, and these are all the talent that will help us when we have to cope with artificial intelligence. It's emotional intelligence. And the talent is owned by Nates Slonik. Congratulations, Nates. Those of you who are mentioned here for the talent lunch, please stay here and just talk to Tonya afterwards about the details. Mitya, will you help me with the next one? Being on time. Masha, that addresses your question about us sometimes needing to be more quick, and the talent is owned by Alyosha Urjic. Alyosha, congratulations. One more for Diana. The talent is, how to translate that? Excitement, fascination, and it's owned by Milena Pervanje. Milena, congratulations. We need one more, and I get to pick one. The talent is, again, addressing the things that we have talked about here, especially yours. It's openness. And the talent is owned by Gregor Makuc. A very interesting group. Now I feel a bit sorry not to be part of that lunch, but maybe I get invited. Thank you all for being here, for paying attention to this really interesting conversation. Let the debate not stop now. There's coffee break, there will be lunch, and there will be meetings and conferences and boardrooms. Please make use of what you heard today from our speakers. Thank you again for being with us, and nurture your talents. Hvala.